actually is within all of our power to find these little things that will be I think of them as you're describing it, kind of little, I know you said one step at a time, but it was almost like a little hook, like something on this hook, and that's going to pull me along this further, and this hook, and it's going to pull me along. And that, so just a little bit of imagination and a little bit of flipping our mind. And yeah.
I think the other thing is also just be aware of what's going on, because I think sometimes we miss all the joy there is because we're not looking. I mean, in the Kalahari, sometimes you look up and there's a massive big view you can see forever, and you realize how unimportant we are, and it's beautiful. But then if you look at the ground, you'll see in a huge area of sand, a little flower has come. And you look at this really delicate, beautiful little flower. And you could quite easily miss that if you're just trudging along. And it's the same in life, isn't it? At the moment during COVID, it's easy to focus on the negatives, but there are some huge positives, like you and I talking today. I've learned things. I mean, yesterday? No, Friday, I had a online tightrope walking lesson. When would that ever happen?
No, you can't imagine it's a thing.
It was really interesting. It's going to be the subject of what I'm going to say tomorrow on Wisdom's Chats.
Oh, lovely.
But I think it is. But the thing is, if we get too involved in just trying to grind stuff out, we miss those beautiful little flowers. Or it could just be a little tiny conversation with someone. Very often in the Kalahari, a member of the crew has said something and it's really lifted me up. Or another runner's come past and said something, or I've gone past them and said something to them. And little tiny things that make a big difference. I think that's why we should always try and be positive in our language to people.
I think what you're also saying, Edward, is, when you say leave something in the tank, that we underestimate what can fill our tank. We keep thinking it needs to be some big, enormous thing that's going to be life-changing, and then my tank will be filled. But actually, it's the small little things. It's the encouraging word. It's the fun conversation. It could just be a smile across your mask. There's these things actually fill us in unexpected ways. But now, Edward, one of the things you talk about the flower, you talk about the view. Whether it's a consequence of your trail running or whether it was part of you from the beginning, is this passion for the environment. And it's something that is ingrained in you, and that is something that you wanting to share as a message, is the value and the importance of the environment because it's under threat. So what is a message? What is a clear word, message, communication that you want to say that would encapsulate the essence of what is important to you about the environment?
I think the key thing I'd like people to think about is that we need the environment more than the environment needs us. And it won't be there for much longer. The amount of wilderness that's been destroyed in my lifetime is huge. And although nature's incredibly resilient, we are at the edge of wiping it out. And we are that close that if we don't act now, it'll be too late. And we depend on it. All the vaccines for COVID, they initially get tested for safety, not for whether they work or not, just for safety, on the blood of a horseshoe crab.
We seem to have lost Edward.
Did you have
Sorry.
a power cut or something? It disappeared.
Yeah, sorry, you froze there for a moment. So we're talking about the blood of the horseshoe crab.
Yeah, so what happens is that people harvest horseshoe crabs, take the blood out of it, put the horseshoe crab back in the ocean, and they test vaccines on them. Well, what happens if there are no horseshoe crabs and they live in coastal waters, which are perhaps the most polluted? Also, in most medical labs, they will use an extract from the snake lox anemone because it's bioluminescent. What happens when there's none of those left? So we are really dependent, not just for food, but for medicines, but also for our mental health, to have the environment there. And we've been lucky so far because the environment is so resilient, but we are really, really, really trashing it now, and we have to stop. And it's not going to cost us money. We'll actually benefit. Less pollution, less lung disease, more people going out enjoying the outdoors, less heart problems. So there's lots and lots of benefits to come from just looking after nature, being part of the system rather than just destroying it. Yeah, and I am passionate, and I'm kind of thinking, well, this is my one chance to make a difference.
Yeah, so I think that's so vital, this message that we need the environment much more than it needs us. And that we've been fortunate enough that the environment is as resilient as it is, but it can't hold back. You can't hold its place at the pace at which we are taking from it. So what would be a simple thing that we could do? Because I think you've emphasized, and I sort of have heard you say it before, it's about behavior, changing behaviors. So what are some behaviors? And they're not just the recycle and reuse, but I know that, what are some ways that we can actually make a difference in our environment?
The really simple thing is just showing that you care, because if companies realize that it's important to you, they'll take it on board. If governments realize it's important to you, they'll take it on board. If your neighbor realizes it's important to you, they might do something. So it's really just voicing the fact that it's important to you. And the rest will follow. Yes, it's important, turn the heating down, don't use your car too much, recycle, reuse, avoid certain things. But actually the most effective way is just to say you care. And that message then goes out everywhere.
How simple is that? How simple is that? Yeah, I like that one. Thank you.